Hi there. Let's continue with the routing module lecture. Here's the revision that we just checked out, and it has to do only about the routing module, which means basically the in-app navigation. So we're going to look into how that works in Angular apps. So here we can just read, we're going to use or create a new module for all the routing purposes in our tutorial of Tour of Heroes tutorial. I'm going to define, of course, routes and initialize all these at the router level. So our Angular application knows when we clicked or when the user clicks on a link, we are going to go to a specific component or a specific route better set. We're also going to use extra or define directives within this new module, the routing module, like route outlet and router link. So what we are going to explain is basically when the user hits in the URL, things like, if you quickly recall the Tour of Heroes application, in the beginning we had immediately the list of heroes here. Now imagine this is the home page and you want to go to a different page. So you want to navigate within your Angular app, and you will go to this time to heroes, so to this route. So we're going to type the URL and we will show that specific page or that specific logic. So this is basically in-app navigation, and the Angular has already worked or made this awesome routing module for us. So we're going to just make use of it and understand a little bit about the directives that are available to us. So we can just create links like this. So instead of just typing heroes here, we could also just get back and click on this link, and you will see that you go to exactly the same route. So let's have a look into that. So first, we're going to create our module. Let me just get rid of it. We're going to create our module app. This is, I'm in the app.module.ts. That's the, as you know, the root module. So what we're going to do there is import one more thing. So the rest is exactly the same, except for this line. And that is importing the app routing module. And I am using the Angular CLI to automatically create that. As you can see, here is the how to exactly generate that. And well, you might not be familiar yet with these arguments over here in the command. When you use the command line, that's the flat. It's simply showing the location. If you say flat, then this module that we're creating called app routing, like it's in here, is going to be located under the source app. That's all it does, this argument. And then we have the module equal app. This is kind of the scope. And meaning that basically I want to import this functionality, the routing module, into the app. So if we look into the imports here, you will have this line automatically generated app routing module. So this is what this line is basically doing, importing the module within your application. Okay, remember that we are in the app module as a root module. And yeah, that's all it's happening in here. So let's have a look at the core of this functionality that we are trying to import here, that we're trying to use in our application for the navigation. Well, since we are creating a module automatically, or generating it automatically, you should look at this routing module not as just another module. There are things that we don't need in this module. This common module that you see here, this class coming from Angular common, we don't need any of that functionality in this one, because this module is only dealing with our routing functionality. Okay, so that's why these comments highlighted here. So we don't need that. Of course, since it's a module, we need the module functionality, and then we could start importing what we actually need for the routing functionality to work. And this is going to be the first thing, the route module, which is the core functionality. think of it as a class, remember, and we also look into roots, and those roots is simply a collection of objects of type root, and we will see in a moment what that is. So from here on, it's your turn to basically define what you want, what routes you want to the users to go to, and of course using this service router service. So for that, I will need to define or configure the routes, and you can see in this piece of code that's exactly what we are doing. The routes here is just a simple array of paths or routes. Remember that we're just using this array over here, imported from the Angular router, and that allows us to use these properties of this object called root. Okay, you can go and have a look into the Angular library, Angular documentation, APIs, type root there, and you will see a little bit more properties for these root objects. But for now, take my word, and you will at least need the path and the component for defining or configuring a route. What does this mean here in this example? Well, the path is going to be heroes. You can type basically whatever tweet you like, but here we are going to make sense of what we want the application to show to the user as soon as the user clicks on heroes link, and the list will appear of heroes, of course. And what component is responsible for that? You already know that heroes component is actually doing that, responsible for displaying those heroes. Since don't forget that we use the hero service for that, and that's injected in this heroes component. Well, that's about this, and the module contains in the declaration of this class contains some imports, and you will see here the router module, and that's why we import this router module class, because we need this specific function that is defined within this router module. So the for route my routes, you just simply pass what we just have defined, and you will tell the application, Angular application, hey, this is I need this routing, the for route method that makes the routing service available in our application at the root level. So all you're doing here is telling Angular that these routes should be available at the root level, so the entire application. Think of it as the scope. And of course, if we want to use this functionality, it's not going to work until we make it exportable. And here you can just say, hey, the root module is exportable. So let's have a look to the application. That being said, the routes. Remember here, I'm defining heroes, and I'm telling the root module is going to be, the router is going to be responsible for just outputting the heroes now into this component into this once the user tells the routing module, hey, let's go to heroes. So when the user clicks here, the router is the one taking or displaying the magic, in other words. But for that, you might be thinking, yeah, how is that even possible that actually something appears on the screen, right? Because if I just go to, so to say, the home page, well, at this point I have nothing here, and when I click, well, this must be sort of a component or something, you might be thinking, right? And that's of course correct, because you know about your heroes component. And if we just have quickly a look to the heroes component, nothing has changed at the view level. It's exactly the same code as we previously had, and exactly the same logic as we previously had. So how is it possible that all this is appearing magically in there? Is it an NGE? Well, I don't see. I'm just telling you that it's exactly the same code at the view and at the logic level. So this is the magic of the routing module. And if we clearly look into the app module, you will see that the app component is the bootstrap. So let's have a look at the app component view and see what's going on in there. So here we can see the power of the functionality of the routing service or routing module. And those are directives that are being defined in that module. And the first one is going to be router link. And router link, remember, it's whatever paths we have defined in our routes array. You can just match these links at the view level with those. So from now on, for example, whenever this router link is, remember, this is just a directive, and directive is just adds HTML tricks to our HTML elements. That's it. So what this is going to do is basically make a link with this functionality and with this navigation functionality, if you like. So whenever I click here, the router link is responsible for displaying the or going to the right path, to the right navigation component, if you like. So, but of course, I need to display specifically somewhere. And if you look at the next line in here, that is a new HTML element, so to say, but this is an Angular router module. So the router outlet is basically a placeholder for all the list of heroes that I have. So this is basically the router link is making a link with the making the connection with the paths or the navigation paths that we have configured in the uprouting module, and to actually display them in a placeholder, we need this other directive, router outlet. So router link, router outlet. This is possible, guys, because we have imported this awesome functionality of our router, the Angular router. Okay, and I think those are the key things to know about router, the routing module, and how routing actually works in Angular. Now you could go and define a little bit more advanced things. For now, I just have a link, a list of heroes. If I click this one individual heroes, this functionality is still the same as in the past. Nothing has changed there. But wouldn't it be cool if, for example, I click on this one and also the URL changes accordingly? So I do have more accurate and better navigation in my application. That's all possible with this Angular router. So for now, we're gonna just quickly look into how that could be, the result after you do a little bit more advanced stuff of when it comes to routing. And that's called, for example, parameterized routes and so on. But for now, we just quickly check out this revision. And we refresh. That's it. And here we will see, well, let me just go back to homepage, and you will see that immediately we jump to a specific route as all possible, and that would be a dashboard route displaying the 5 heroes, or the top 5 heroes. Once I click on this one, well, the list of heroes will appear. But what I just mentioned about more sophisticated routes, it would be cool if I click, for example, in this hero ID 13, hero name of Basto, and hero power X. Then the URL, it's more, it's prettier, isn't it? Now, all this is based on what the user's mental model works, how it actually works. Because in the past, every single page was a different document, was a different resource, and was truly being asked to the server side, and the server side completely gave you a different page and loaded into the browser. So nowadays, remember that Angular are single page applications. So this is just kind of a trick, if you like, for because we have in our mental model one thing, so we just try to simulate that the navigation coming from how the internet worked, web applications worked in the past. Nowadays, everything is just one single application, and we provide navigation in those based on these tricks, this routing functionality. But this is just a trick. Everything else, remember that the application itself is a single page application. We're not, when we change the URL, let's say hero 777, it's another hero. It doesn't mean that loading a complete entire page, just tweaking that, okay? And that is the magic of the routing service or routing module in these in Angular apps. So yeah, let's get back to that's it. Have fun extending your navigations in your applications. Thank you very much.